Hey yo, this the KID, the Kid Capri, man. You know how it goes down. We don't do nothing without no DJ, alright? That's what you watching.
Wow. We're here on the Without No DJ podcast.
Yep.
He hails from Harlem. No headphones in Harlem. He was on season 2 of Master of the Mix.
True.
You seen him on the Global Spin Awards.
True.
Mr. Mell Starr. How you doing today, man?
What up, man? It's good.
Cooling, man. How you been?
All right.
Is it no headphones in Charlotte now? Or?
Right now, no, there are headphones in Charlotte. I'm sitting here like looking around like, where's this noise coming from? Strange.
I hear you.
Very strange, but I'm good. Everything's good.
Let's get right to it. You're originally from Brooklyn, New York.
I was born in Brooklyn, yes.
But you did a bit of moving around.
I did a lot of moving around.
You moved to the Bronx.
I did.
Because of your father.
Pops. Miss you.
Let's talk about your pops.
Wow. Rest his soul. He just passed away a couple of years ago. My father was a ghostwriter, and my father wrote for a lot of people that I cannot say their names.
Right.
But, it was I can basically say most and all of the stuff that we, pretty much listened to. He had a hand on it or a pen on it.
Was it more so hip hop, funk, soul, house?
It was definitely soul, definitely funk, disco. House wasn't really his thing at the time. So, no, it was definitely the funk, soul, and disco.
Okay.
Club music, as they call it.
Club music. Now, when you say club music, they call it house
They
now.
call it house now, yeah.
All right, cool,
Yeah.
cool. There was another key player in your life. He went by the name of Uncle Butch.
Uncle Butch.
Now, what role did Uncle Butch have in your life?
A pair of 1200s, Bozak mixer, and all the records. So
Okay.
that was actually my first actual setup. So my Uncle Butch was the one that actually put that in my hand and said, hey, you better do something with this.
So did he donate those turntables
He
to
gave
you?
me the whole set. What was it? DC 300 Crown amp, D75, a ass kicker.
That's what it was called?
The speaker, which
Okay, all right.
the big large speaker was an ass kicker, and what was the bullets?
Okay.
And a pair of AST bullets. So imagine that I was about what, 15, 14, 15
Right.
when he gave it to me. So
Uncle Butch, previously, was he a DJ himself, or was it more of a hobby?
nah, my uncle was he is actually the reason why I am, who I am today. He was around a lot of guys that I didn't know who they were when
Right.
I was young. So like people like Uncle Tony was Tony Humphrey.
Wow.
Frankie Knuckles, cousin Frankie,
Right.
was Frankie Knuckles, and so on and so forth. A lot of people, Timmy Regisford, goodness, I think Larry Levan in his last days, rest in peace. Yeah, it was a lot of people. So it was a lot of Kerry Chandler, definitely. A lot of those guys were from Brooklyn anyway, also. So a
Okay.
lot of them were from, Brooklyn. So, I was able to hang out, carry all the records with my uncles and walk to, certain record, stores and stuff like that. So I got the bug early. So
Right.
then my father, he was a singer and, he sung and he wrote. So I was always around music.
Okay.
So just the styles were different. So I was able to look at both styles when I was young.
Okay. Now, did Uncle Butch put the fire behind your back to make you actually get out and DJ? Like, you're not cutting like that. Not around me, you're not cutting like that.
Yeah, I wasn't introduced. The weirdest thing was I wasn't introduced to hip hop until the early, towards almost middle of the 90s. So I wasn't even involved in none of hip hop's history, so it was like I had to go back and take a good look at that story.
So you mean to tell me, growing up in New York, the
New York
birthplace
City,
of hip hop,
yeah,
you didn't really listen to hip hop like
I
that?
didn't listen to any hip hop. It was like I waited till midnight to listen to Timmy Regisford, Tony Humphrey, T. Scott, the original Charisma. So it was, but the music was so good at that time. You know, it was like you wanted to hear, you know, To Be Real and, you know, and Patchy and Loretta, you know, how like it was just stuff like that I just was only wanting to listen to at the time. Ecstasy and Pain. So
Wow.
yeah, Champagne King, like, so there was no, you know, again, and then the records that I inherited, they were all club music and disco and soul records. So I never had not one. I think the closest rap record was Hardcastle, Rainforest.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yep. So yeah.
So you mean to tell me that Apache was played on the radio?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
It was played on the radio straight across.
I couldn't imagine.
And when the break came, that's when the next record was coming while the break was going.
So they would just cut it off, slam it.
It was just, you know, mixing to the next record. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's crazy to imagine that.
Yeah.
Now, there was another guy who's mentioned in the BDP record, I'm Still Number One. He went by the name of Robocop.
Robocop. Big shouts to Robocop. So Robocop, this is when I was in the Bronx, actually. I was in the Bronx when my father was at. And this guy is huge guy. I was like half his size. He was just a big dude. And I remember it clearly. He had an white MPV. That's when the MPVs was like really serious at the time. And
wait. We got to explain to the people what an MPV is.
that was the truck of all trucks. It was like a, I don't know, like a minivan.
Was it the
like
Mazda joint?
The Mazda joint, yes. Was it MVP or MPV?
MPV. Not to be confused with an MPC.
Yeah, not an MPC. Definitely not an MPC.
All right.
And you know, one day everybody was just all into like hip hop at the time, and I was like, yo, what are y'all doing? You know, it was like guys break dance. I'm like, what are y'all doing? You know,
right.
And I had a conversation with Robocop, and the funny thing was I was able to tell him about certain records that they were cutting, but I was playing.
Right.
So he was like, you know what? Come to my house. I was like, what? All right. I get in the car, and they lived maybe about 5-6 blocks from my house. And so I snuck off the block. Didn't tell my parents. Oh my, ooh. Wow.
You already knew what time it was.
Oh my God. That's why I remember it so clearly. Never go off the block without telling your parents.
That's right.
So I went to his house, and that was the first time that I actually witnessed a 19-inch mixer and a pair of turntables. He had a pair. He had 12s. I had 12s. Yeah, he had a pair of 12s, and he had this big long mixer, and he was actually like cutting a record and taking a fader and going across. And I'm like, yo, what is that? Like, what are you doing? And then, you know, the theory was don't mess up the records from spinning it back and moving the needles. And like, it was just like, I'll take it, and I'm like, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing? And he was showing me, I think it was Dance to Drummer's Beat.
Wow.
Blue Copy, Ultimate Breaks and Beats.
Wow.
Blue Copy. And I think Apache and To Be Real was on the same record, if I'm not mistaken.
So those records mean a lot to you. When you hear them, it automatically takes you back to that place, right?
Exactly. So he kept going back and forth, and I was so little. So imagine this 19-inch mixer, little kid, and I'm like, it was like I would hit the record on one side, and it was like I would have to take literally a full step over to try to get to the other side.
Yeah.
But I didn't, not spinning it back, but starting the record over.
Yeah.
And then boom. And I'm like, and then he would just come back in the room like, no, that's not how you do it. And he would just flip the records. And I'm like,
mind blown.
Okay, what is this? And from there, it was over. So from that point, he was in his room, and I was gonna go in the room and say, "Yo, I don't know how to do this, and I can't figure it out." And the tape, it was the DMC 1990 finals. I think it was on a VHS tape, and I believe Video Music Box had the actual video. So,
wait, we got to explain to the people in North Carolina and all other places besides New York what Video Music Box is.
Ralph McDaniels, who was like he was the actual he was hip hop to, for the streets, the videos, the parties. So he was the person that went to all the parties, and he would, show visuals and put up his videos, but then also show parties and stuff like that. But this instance, It was that DMC. That was the first DMC that I witnessed. Now, funny, when I had actual DMC vinyl, they were called disco mixing. So I didn't understand how is this, what did this have to do with that? You know what I mean? So I was stuck. I looked at the video, the first person I seen, it was Steve D. Shouts out to Steve D. The first person I seen was Steve D. The second person I seen was DJ Miz. The third person I believe was Flamboyant. Matter of fact, Flamboyant was the first, and Diamond J. So those four guys, I had to find where to find this tape. So he gave me the tape, and it was over. It was over.
Wow.
It was over. And then I took it. And this is right in the interim of me going to Harlem.
Okay.
So when I actually went to Harlem and, everything was bought there, I took the mixer, my Bozak mixer.
Right.
And Rockin' Soul. Shouts out to Rockin' Soul. Sharon and Shirley. So I took the mixer out. I took it downtown. I said, hey, I need a new mixer, and it gotta have it had to be small or whatever. And the ladies are looking at me like I was crazy, because it was like, you want to sell this and you want to get that? But again, I knew nothing of, what that was really about.
Right.
It was that mixer's worth $7,000 now. Now, I'm like, damn, I had one.
It's the equivalent to selling a Scratch Master for.
Oh man,
selling a 72 for a Scratch Master.
Yeah, pretty much. So I had to figure out. I had to change everything. I had no hip hop records, nothing, and so I was just using Hardcastle, Rainforest. Because it sounded like Planet Rock at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that. So I would watch the tape. I would go back and try to emulate it. I'm like, something is wrong. And then I had to take the turntables and the mixer out of the coffin, flip it over, put everything on top, and close the gap because it was too wide. And I was still stretching over, to try to make it happen. And then once I was able to understand it and figure it out, the pennies on the records, quarters on the records, and the 680 ELs at the times I was using. So that was it. And that was it. And then I locked in, I think, for 4 or 5 years straight.
Word. Now let's talk about, a lot of people back at that time were using pennies, dimes, nickels, whatever on records. Do you actually believe that method works?
At the time, yes, because there was two issues. All records were different at the time.
Right.
So some records were good enough to not need pennies or quarters, and then there was some that needed them. So, that all depended on, traction. And so it was like all that stuff was weird. I see like people turn the needles a certain way.
Yeah.
I never
you don't believe
did
that?
I don't believe in any of that.
Do you remember the records? Like, I remember back in the day, Capitol records, some of them were super thin. Some of them, like when they got to the Hammer era, it was kind of thick.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh my God, I can't cut this.
And that's what I'm saying. Like these, and it's funny because those were the things that I did not know.
Right.
So it was like, nah, these records are fine, and Profile had decent records. So again, Hardcastle was on Profile. So those two records were my initial records that I actually started cutting on. So I never really, then it went from that. Then I used Double Cross.
Okay.
So bang.
Yep.
So I would use that. And then those were the two records. So I was like, all right, comfortable South. So these records feel good. So, and that was it, man. That was the start.
That's a good way to start.
Yeah, that was the start.
Now, 1990, you mentioned that you met Robocop. You seen the DMC tapes.
Right.
In 1990, what would you say, how old would you say you were when you met Robocop?
I was probably about 11.
11 years old.
About 11.
Okay.
About 11.
And then you mentioned that you moved to Harlem. At what age did you move to Harlem?
I moved to Harlem before I went to high school. So, like 14. I was early 13, 14.
13, 14.
Yep. And all of my teenage life, I was in Harlem.
What made you move to Harlem?
My grandmama. I wanted to stay with my grandmother.
Okay.
It was a lot happening at that time, and then my pops, he remarried.
Right.
So little issues, but not much. But it was just enough that I just didn't want to, and I wanted to hang out. And like I said, I got the taste of what that street life was looking like.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, I gotta go. And that's how it started. I went to Harlem, and it was just like, it was a whole new world for me, street hustling, parties. I lived directly across the street from a well-known club called Club 2000.
Wow.
So Club 2000 was like, you saw Biz, you saw SNS, you saw Kid Capri, you saw Brucey B, Star Child. Like, you seen those guys, and I was like, Flex.
Right.
He was starting up. And so when I would go, to my grandmother's house, these are the people that I would see with bodyguards and friends and just looking crazy, just going down the block and going to the club. I'm like, yo, I need to be around that. Like, what is that? So
Club 2000, did you actually visit the club, or you were like a bystander?
Eventually, I was able to go, see.
Pick ID?
Yeah, yo, what? 42nd Street, 8th Avenue. If you don't know, you go to 8th Avenue. If you got the little sideburns, you was good. Yo, I'm 18.
Beijing? Any Beijing?
You know what I'm saying? There was no Beijing yet. There was none of that. But at that time, yeah, those are the places where you got the fake IDs and all that stuff. And people used it to go into clubs. You know what I'm saying? So that technically was like the college IDs at the time. So
wow,
IDs wasn't that serious back then. It was just they looked at you. Yeah, he's old enough. You good. That's really what it was in New York.
Now, are there any DJs that you modeled yourself on early?
Pretty. Like I said, my uncle was really a big reason. There's a couple of other people. Mick was one, definitely. Rest in peace to Mick. The Sherm as well. But seeing that tape,
right,
really like put the bigger battery on me, because then it was like, okay, there's more to it than just mixing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for that, it was like, oh, I gotta do that. Do that. So, but listening, like I said, again, that tape, Steve D, I at the time I thought was just like super funky. Like he would the Friends routine was just like epic, man. Like epic.
Tell the people who Steve D is.
And Steve is from Harlem, actually.
Okay.
Steve D is from Harlem. Basically the legend is he is the originator of the beat juggle.
Whoa.
Yeah. So bringing that boom, boom, bap, bap, boom, bap, bap, boom on 2 records and basically making the records dance. What I liked about him was basically that, you know, and then obviously at the time too, Diamond J was he was fast, but he was real fast, but he was like a sharp cutter
right
at the time. And I was like, so a lot of that, you know, what I kind of do now as far as like, I guess, heavy, sharp hit snaps.
Yep.
Was kind of, you know, I definitely learned that from watching this one tape. I watched that tape for a long time. Miz was, you know, I always said, man, I wish, he's like one of the guys that I really want to meet still to this day. Miz was important to me because that's what all of that clicking.
Yeah.
That, and I always said, I said, Dag, what if he would have had the mixers and stuff that we use today
Nasty.
back then.
Nasty.
Back then, you know what I mean? So those were my early, you know, points on, you know, like really wanting to take the step to learn the second part of what I was doing, you know, and it became important to me.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now, we hear about early hip hop records that came out mid 80s, late 80s. A lot of talk about the Latin Quarter. I don't know if you have any stories. We like to hear stories about the Latin Quarter.
Yo.
There were certain records.
Red Alert.
Like
all day long.
Top Billin'.
Alert.
Go Stetzer.
Oh.
Let's talk about these records. We play them today for old school parties.
Yeah, and it's crazy because
with no repercussions.
None. And it's funny because I was talking to Red Alert a couple of months ago, and he played this tape. And Red was known for breaking a lot of records.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the South Bronx record, you know, was like one of the Public Enemy #1.
Right.
That record, but just back to that, the South Bronx, and it was like, it's funny because, you know, the Latin Quarters, there was a couple of Latin Quarters. So there was one uptown, and there was one downtown. And one uptown, like, this tape he played for me, and it was like, you know, where we come from, I did a South Bronx, South Bronx, right? So he would play the instrumental. And that was another thing. They were playing a lot of instrumentals back then.
In the club.
Bam, and in the back of the club, under the mic, because they had mics on the floor, and you heard Brooklyn. Like, it sounded like an earthquake of people in there. Like, you know, I wish that I was available and old enough to go to some of those things that I've actually heard on tape. Like, it was a phenomenal, you know, the battles with Herc, you know, Herc and all of those guys, and Kaz and Mel and Kumo D and all.
Let's go,
like,
Fever.
Yeah, like I said, I as a youth, I knew nothing of none of it. So it was like, again, I had to go back and do new homework,
right,
and figure it all out. You know, it was hard because, you know, the good thing about it, the records were still available at the time. Records were still available when I was buying records.
Right.
So I was able to capture a lot of that time and grab, you know. Whew, it was rough. It was rough.
I can believe it.
It was rough.
What were some of those key records? You said South Bronx. Got Top Billin'.
Yeah, you got Top Billin'. Definitely go Stat for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that. I mean, Do the James.
That was one?
Rap's New Generation. Yo, Red was cool because he what I liked about him most is he played a lot of the B records.
Right.
Like all the records that were only in the club.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like Rap's New Generation was like Donald D records.
Wow.
Like all those records weren't played on the radio as much. So I would have, and that's what I'm saying, like listening to the radio. So, you know, obviously listening to the radio, it was always Rapper's Delight and the top commercial joints. So you really didn't know what was happening. Freddie B, like it's a lot of dope records out, you know, Jungle Brothers and you know Eric B, you know, and those were the typicals. Rakim, Kane, Biz, you know, the Juice Crew versus the BDP posse, and you know all of that stuff. So it was dope. Like, but I had to go, like I said, I had to go and research it all and, you know, get the conversations and hear about everything. So it was really different.
Now, piggybacking off of that, we listen to hip hop pretty much 24/7 a day.
Facts.
Back at that time, I know you said you had to go back and learn, but do you remember vaguely at the time you had to listen to hip hop at certain times? You were talking about Red Alert.
Yeah. My brother Kurt, that's really who really was like, yo, you gotta listen to this. You always listening to this, but you need to listen to this.
Right.
And you know, eventually I ran into like Kane.
Okay.
I think, what was it, Warm It Up Kane, Wrath of Kane. And then I was like, yo, that kid is dope. The V-I-G-D-A-W-D-U-I-K-A-N-E. I'm like, yo, who's that? You know what I'm saying? And then and he was a Hit Squad fanatic. So he loved Redman. Reggie Noble and that Sermon. Whole Eric Sermon dies, that whole funky funk mode.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then again, like I said, I had to go and learn everything, like literally everything, man. It was crazy.
So this was probably 1994 when you had the
yeah, definitely.
There was a certain Craig Mack record.
Yeah, and it's crazy because that was my actual first hip hop record I've ever bought. Was Flavor in It. That was the very first record. When I heard Just Like You and the Blab, I was like,
yeah,
what the fuck is that?
You gotta have that.
And then that's when the bug really came in, and then I was like, okay, now I gotta listen to it, you know.
So were you buying doubles at that time, or it was just like, I just want to buy the record just to kind of learn it?
In the beginning, I was buying one, but again, family, my uncle was in the record pool.
Oh wow.
My father was in the record pool, so his one or his two copies and his one or his two copies, I had caught doubles.
Now explain to the people, when you say record pool, a lot of people get it misconstrued with downloading records like it is today. Tell the people how it was back then to get records.
Back then was real serious. Like you had to be a certain person or a certain type of character or DJ to just even to receive records.
That's right.
So that was the first thing. So there was an actual list of DJs that only got records, you know what I mean? And anybody else, you either had to find it or you had to buy it. It was one or the other. And, you know, eventually I got into going to the labels and, you know, so right after that, that's when I started, okay, you now got to go to the labels. And, and then when I went to the labels, you know, I used my pop's name.
You name dropping.
I name drop like, yo, that's my father. What? Come on in. And they gave me like the whole I got the whole Def Jam catalog.
Wow.
Arista's catalog. This was right when because Bad Boy wasn't in that building yet. They weren't on 57th Street yet. So that Sony, Universal, G Unit was just getting off too. So what was the Keys was on J Records. J Records was popping. So it was Electra. So it was a lot of, I was able to get everybody. So at the time, so when I gathered all the records, now I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? So now I had to figure out how to play and what to play. Because like I said, I didn't know all the records at the time. And, it was just the process of putting it together and, okay, this record is hot. I think this is good. Red I know he played this, and
right.
The classic records I had to go buy: Rock and Soul, Downstairs Records, Beat Street. It was so many. Vinyl Mania. It was a lot of record spots. The spot on 14th Street. Yeah, it was a lot of places.
Music Factory.
Music, of course, which was Beat Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Street, yeah, Beat Street was the original, and then it went from that to Music Factory.
Cool.
So yeah.
Do you remember the very first club that you played in?
The very first club I played in it was in Brooklyn. It's this place called Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar?
Yeah. It's a place called Brown Sugar. But again, like I said, I was so young. And what was the other place? It was there in oh man, not the Palladium, but it was I believe it might have been, it was a church, but it was a club, but it looked like a church, but it was a big club. You walked in, you walked downstairs, and it was like a sea of people. And what was funny, drugs was crazy.
Oh yeah.
At that time, drugs was real serious. So I will not name their names because they were them guys.
Okay.
And my uncle, he would bring me to these clubs, and they would all get high, and they would be like, "Yeah, just go play." Until we come back, and it was like, wait a minute,
where are they?
It's 3 hours and I'm still playing records. And but that was what, it's funny because that was the gift for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I was able to utilize that.
Right.
So yeah, those were the two.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Super crazy.
What a life.
Yeah, it was it was interesting.
Yeah. To say the least.
It was interesting.
On average, when you were DJing with vinyl, how many crates would you say you would bring out?
Man, minimum was anywhere between 8 to 11.
Okay.
8 to 11. And half of them was the double size. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, they were double size.
Tell us how you would organize them, because when I would carry records, I had rock over here, I had such and such over here.
What I did, I color coded everything. Def Jam was burgundy.
Okay.
Bad Boy was white and black. White with the black, with his Bad Boy emblem.
Yep.
Universal was blue, right? They were dark,
Universal was blue
yeah,
with the black font.
Right.
Yep.
G Unit was funny because they had green sometimes, and then they had red records.
Okay.
And then Electra was just all white. Or if it wasn't the promo, you had the actual face or the labeling of their stuff. Yeah. So I color coded. So that way, color coding was cool because you knew that you didn't have a set. So it was like, okay, this is all Def Jam stuff. This is all this stuff. This is all this stuff. And you would the look was, how I look?
Oh, yeah.
Just flipping through and just, all right, boom, and then you go over here, you peel out this, and then you go over here and peel that out. Yep. So, that was the move,
Now, was it like your opening set in the front, or was it in the back?
It was just
strictly by label.
It was just the labels, like you. And that was the thing, because we, at that time, we were playing like 6 hours straight at that time. You know what I mean? So there was no opening DJ. You were the DJ that opened up and finished the party. You know what I mean? So you had to know how to set the timing and all of that stuff to make sure that you didn't play the hot record at 11 o'clock when it should have been played at 1.
Right.
You know, so you had the fillers as they call them today.
Oh yeah.
You needed the fillers. You need a lot of fillers.
A lot of those for 6 hours.
6 hours. Yeah. You know.
September 11th, 2001.
God.
I remember sitting in 7th grade, looking at TV, thinking that I'm watching a movie, like a movie trailer, right?
That was so crazy. Oh man.
Also that day, I remember saying, "Hey, I can't wait to get out of school. I'm going to buy the Blueprint." Jay-Z's Blueprint album came out. Now, something happened to you. You were actually in New York at that time.
I was there, man.
On that day.
Yeah. I was working too. I left work and my job was like, hey, we need this package to go somewhere. I was going to Brooklyn anyway. It's like, you know what? I'll take it.
Right.
I went downtown and boom. I'm like, what in the world was that? Not thinking. And then I went, I went down, I parked. And then I parked and all I started seeing was people like chattering, but they're not saying anything. And then everybody started running. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I get out the car and I'm like, we're in New York. So if you're running, that means that somebody like right there got a gun.
Right.
Or something is a riot right there. But when you seen everybody from all scattered areas was just running, I'm like, yo, what is going on? And then all I heard was boom, doom, 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 doom. And then the building just came all the way down. And I turned and jetted.
Wow.
Gone. What happened was for me, the fighter jets, when the fighter jets came at that time, they were so low.
Right.
To the city that it sounded like they took off right in front of me. And all you heard was that noise was so bad, and it rattled my eardrum and it knocked it out. So I'm like, we go to parties and you figure it's loud music. You know how your ears get clouded for a couple of hours and you just go home, go to sleep, or you walk around and it'll clear up. So I'm like, it's going to clear up. I'm good, whatever. And then days and weeks come by and I'm like, yo, what's up with you? Okay, wait. And, and then everything shut down at that time too. So it shut down for like about a week and a half.
Right.
And, and I'm still like, yo, what's going on? Like, what's going on? And, not paying attention to it.
Right.
And then, and then I've grabbed a sense of arrogance, like, it'll come back. Don't worry about it. It's good. I'm good. And it didn't come back. And I'm like, I went to the doctor and then they were like, yo, it's over, B. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Now, mind you, I should have got my check. That's what I should have
immediately.
But again, arrogance. I was arrogant. I was like, nah, you bugging. I'm good. I'm under control. I got it.
Right.
And from that day forth, man, I lost my hearing. It was more, I try not to detail it so much because it was such a bad day, man. Like that was one of the worst days, and the death count was just like retarded. Like it was brutal. It was brutal. But I lost my hearing, my left ear, and it's gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gone. It's just
sorry
gone.
to hear that, man.
It's definitely gone.
So with that being said, you were already DJing. What was the process into transitioning to DJ without headphones? Because I can only imagine seeing you with headphones. Like that would be it's weird for me now to look at you with headphones on.
That's why and you notice I'm leaning.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Is he talking to me in his ear?
Yeah.
Because it's like nothing over. That's why I'm leaning. But what happened was the very good thing about what happened to me, again, a blessing,
Right.
was I knew the digital scene was coming.
Right.
So at the time, I knew, like, I had Final Scratch. I got Final Scratch. It was terrible. But the only good thing was I was able to understand and visualize the wave patterns and how it was going. So again, I had to lock in again and practice that and figure out what these records are doing, what they're saying, how it looks, what it looks like. And, you know, it took a couple of months. It took me about 5 or 6 months to like understand it.
Right.
I would still go out with the headphones, but then I started noticing when I would put the headphones on my head to try to listen to the cue back, I couldn't hear nothing on the outside. So now I'm like, okay, now how do I adjust? So I used to break these Sony headphones, and I used to like break all of this off and just have like the one piece, and I would just be like, doop, okay, I got it, and then try to and try to figure it out from there. And then it was like the worst thing because I almost quit. I almost quit. I almost was like, you know what, I can't do it, because it was bothering me that I couldn't hear outside of myself from having a pair of headphones on. And so when the digital scene came, that's what made it easier. Right. So it was like, okay, I don't have to deal with the vinyl. So I immediately recorded, my just about, I think I'm on 100 keys, but a few left. But I recorded all of my vinyl pieces, and so I was basically trying to get ready for the next wave, which was Serato.
Right.
Shouts out to Serato. Yes.
Now I noticed that you said you were using Final Scratch.
Yeah, Final Scratch, the flying saucer. That's what we called it. It was this big, ugly molecule looking type like thing. It was ugly. It was nasty looking. It was the big metally looking ugly thing.
Right.
And, I had it. It was set up properly, so I was able to use it.
Right.
So and then that's when PC was like everything. There was no Macs was like Macintosh.
Right.
They were Macintosh at that time. So the PCs, the Dells was like it. Latitude, good, had 2 gig, was ready to go. And so once I started that, then Pro Tools and all that came in effect. And then I really got into the digital game really, really hard.
Okay.
Really hard.
At the time, we as DJs, we didn't know a lot about bitrate. How important is bitrate to DJs for those that don't know?
Yeah, bitrate is the most important thing for sound. If you do not have a proper recording, it was like, give it up.
Oh, yeah.
Because people, like, what's funny about that now is, like, I noticed that certain files, when I see people's computers, they have like this little edge. It looks like a little bar. And
right.
It has like nothing in it. It's just like a bar going across. And I'm like, did y'all record that or did you get it from somewhere? And I'm quite sure you didn't record it like that. Or then there's the large ones where it's the big bar where it's just going straight across and it's like no dents. I call them dents. There's no dents. There's no visual. It's just a noisy recording.
Yep.
And you can't. And that's the other thing too, because I noticed that you can't up convert a MP3 to make it a WAV file. You cannot do that. Like a lot of people think that that's making the tracks bigger and all that stuff. No, you cannot up convert to a WAV. It does not work.
Yep.
Only
true.
down converting. You can down convert, but you cannot up convert an MP3 to it. That's what I'm saying. Like that was something that I was like real serious with when I, started figuring it all out. The 320 things are not bad.
Right.
They're the closest to a WAV as far as MP3 style.
Right.
But I like the waves. I think that they're cool. They're big.
Huge.
They're huge. But
Pause.
they make a lot of sense when you're going into these big spaces to play.
What about Flax? You like Flax?
I never used it.
They sound amazing.
I never used it.
Amazing.
I never used it. Wow.
We're gonna have to put you on those.
Yeah, I might have to take a look at that.
Yeah, man. For a DJ that's starting, what are some record pools or places? Any recommendations to get music nowadays?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now because I just got a new sign on too. There's a few. Beat Junkies is definitely like that's for the exquisite, obscure, having real dope mixes and stuff like that. Promo Only is not bad. Franchise Record is actually not bad either. Like if you want like all of the radio stuff,
right,
you can definitely go there. What's my guys? Digiwax. It's actually still dope.
Yep.
Digiwax, what I like about them is they keep exclusives.
Oh yeah.
Like exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
Like not just the regular exclusive, and they will get something before most of the pools,
That's
stuff
true.
like that. So yeah.
They also offer like exclusive mixtapes. They had
sure
Kid Capri released a tape a couple of years ago on there.
Yes, he did. I need to do one with them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Absolutely.
Digiwax. I know. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get to it, I promise.
Growing up, being in love with hip hop, I always heard stories about the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear a story about the tunnel.
Yo.
I know you got some.
Yeah. Like or not, Flex, at that time was, man, like it was one of the most unbelievable moments that I have ever seen happen in a club, where it was just like straight hip hop. There was no buffoonery. It was DMX. It was the Locks. It was that vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time. So it was just like, yeah, you partying, but that party was rough. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But it was good. You know what I'm saying? It was real good. Flex, rest in peace to Big Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Actually the Pitbulls at that time. It was the Pitbulls, Ted Smooth, Condors and all of them, Bobby Condors and Java and all of them. Like it was that crew, man. It was you. Flex had the building ugly. Like I'm talking about, and it was funny because Party Records really assembled in there.
Yep.
Like the AV8 records, the Crooklyn Clan records, the Be Faithful records that people don't even, that came out in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were still playing it like it's brand new today.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But those like situations like that,
the
Franklins and the Medicines and all those records came Breaking On Down.
Yep.
All those type of records came through there. And what was his name? Alan Pisa was one of the dudes from I believe Crooklyn Clan.
Okay.
And shouts out to Ragosa too, because he is a part of that family as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a part of that. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Low. Yeah.
At that time,
yeah.
Do you remember a certain record that brings you back to that time, or was the hottest record in the tunnel?
It was Hands Up. And the Franklins.
Is that the Jay-Z record? Do it again?
Yeah, with the brown.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
If y'all don't give it, like we don't give it.
Yeah. Crazy.
When I say a rumble and then go right from there, throw your niggas in the head. Mac. You know how Mac ugly. Shut down. Stupid. And The Rock was serious. Bad Boy was serious. So them two was like, that was it. Like that was the club. You know what I mean? There was a couple of South records, but Bad Boy, man. That's what I'm saying. Like this is all the stuff that I had to learn. You know what I mean? So
right.
it was Bad Boy was like
running
big, 112. And then you had the sides. You had Foxy Brown. man, it was crazy. Of course, Junior Mafia. Yeah, it was, man, it was crazy. But no, Flex, that's the Flex I like. I like that Flex. That
Yeah.
was that was a Flex that I like. Flex was like, he was definitely, him and Jessica, I think it was Rosenblatt, or like
I think so.
Yeah, they had it. Nothing moved
Crazy.
at that time. When the tunnel was happening, nothing was moving that night. Nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They actually have a documentary on iTunes.
They should.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. The unisex bathrooms and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's nuts within itself.
There's a lot of things happening in the bathrooms. Yeah, a lot. A lot.
Now, a lot of people remember you from the second season of Master of the Mix.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Master of the Mix. Eddie B. Swift. I was with Eddie B. Swift, and he was like, "Yo, it was Eddie B. Swift and Pep." Big shouts to Pep, because Pep and Eddie was like, "You need to go and audition," and I'm like, nah. And it just so happened that me and Eddie had a party in Miami. And Miami, they had an audition for Master of the Mix, and they was like, "Yo, we need to do it." And I was like, "You serious?" All right, let me just grab my bag, and I went in not thinking, I would have gotten picked.
Yeah.
I would have never known. And I got picked. And, it's funny because that show, shouts out to Kid Capri, Victor Duplay, David Tapscott, a couple of other people, Condra, Jay, and it was a lot of people, and that actually changed my entire life.
I can believe it.
Yeah, it did. And it also made me quit my job, my good, very good, very good, very good paying job. Very good. I'm sorry. Very good paying job.
So at what point did you quit your job? You were just this check I just got?
As soon as as soon as I got on the show, I quit.
Wow.
As soon as, because my theory was always, opportunities don't, and then I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway, because that was a tour as well. So we went to different states, and I would have had to work.
Right.
So that was a hard decision. It was a very hard decision. And, I looked at it like, okay, most people, and that's the thing I always say, when you're on television, I would think that you would want to make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tried to do just that. And it changed my entire, scope on how I would like to DJ, where I would like to DJ at, what type of crowds that I would like to DJ for. So yeah, it changed my entire life. Absolutely.
You know what? I was a huge fan of the show. When you didn't win, I was like, yo, this is rigged. I didn't even watch the next season. I think it was with Just Blaze, and then
shouts out to Just Blaze as well.
Amber Rose?
Yeah, Amber Rose.
I was like, I'm not watching that.
Amber Rose.
Shouts to them, but I was mad at y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all know Mel should have won. I'm gonna say that.
And
I know you're not supposed to say that.
And it's crazy, because that's where me not being able to hear got exposed.
Wow.
On that show, on that actual episode.
Now, there was a blend that you did that everybody knows you for.
And that's,
I had never heard the song until you played it. I was like, what is this?
Yeah. The Aha? I think it was. Yeah, Aha and the Dougie. You know what was funny about that situation? It wasn't even so much as that I was gonna do the blend.
Right.
It was the fact that I was trying to pull off the acapella. That was it. I was like, nah, I got this acapella. So when they was looking like, when I made the first switch,
right,
and then the Dougie just so happened to be right there, and I was like, oh yeah, that might work. And when I dropped it, that was it.
Yeah.
When Just Blaze jumped out of his seat, and shouts out to Just Blaze because he's eclectic. So I was thinking he would understand that type of a record.
Right.
So, again, it was, as they say, styles make fights. So
yeah,
that was really what it was. So
that was the flyest thing. Like I remember being at home watching it, and I was like, yo, I don't know what this record is, but it sounds like it's supposed to be with that record.
Yeah, that changed everything. So it didn't even at that point, I believe it didn't matter from that point because it was like, welcome here, welcome to the world, Mel. Like, he's here.
Yep.
And that was that moment.
As far as the other contestants, do you guys keep in touch?
Yes, absolutely. Shouts out to Jameson.
Oh yeah.
That's my guy. Jameson, superstar.
Okay.
She's out there killing them in Houston. Michael McPherson, he DJs for what's her name from, not Beyonce,
Kelly Rowland?
Kelly Rowland. Yes. DJs for Kelly Rowland. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think what was happening with that group of people, we were all ready to make an adjustment in our lives, but we just didn't know what was going on. And I think because that's what happened. Like, most of us, we were all working corporate life, blah, blah, blah. Everything was good, but that DJing and that music was just like, it's calling. I gotta do it.
You gotta do it.
Gotta do it. And that's what happened.
Well, it all panned out,
It
man.
did. It really did. It's a blessing, definitely.
You were actually on the Jay-Z's Blueprint 3 tour. A lot of people don't know about that. What was your role?
My role
as the DJ on that tour?
I did all of the after parties.
Okay.
From the concerts. So, oh man, I was able to see who's come. I saw Drake's come up. I saw J. Cole's come up. Pharrell and them when they was just boiling. Man, yeah, that tour. Like I said, that tour was definitely, again, another blessing. Like, it was just, I look at everything as a blessing. Who would have known?
Right.
Who would have known I would have got a call to do that tour? And shouts out to Memphis Bleak too, because I hung out with him for a good strong minute, and and Jabbar and rest of the guys. But it was dope. It was really dope, really dope. But yeah, I did all after parties for that whole tour, and it was dope. Yeah,
that's how you wrap it up.
That's how I wrap it up. It was just dope. It was, and it was an experience.
Oh yeah,
like I didn't. It was Jay at that time. Jay was like this high at that time, like still is. But it was just that moment. I love the moments. The moments are good.
That's what it's about.
It's the moments.
Now, what are some of your favorite spots to dig at?
Honestly, in my garage, in the storage areas. I have so many records that I haven't even scratched the surface, even though I recorded a lot, but like I said, my father, my uncle, the record pools and all of that stuff, I was able to really capture like way more than enough stuff. And then, my uncle, like 90% of the stuff that he had were like either acetapes or promos.
Right.
So that's actually where a lot of the acapellas and dub versions and versions that people are like, well, where did you get that from? A lot of those were on vinyl.
Yep. A
lot of them. So it's cool. Yeah. No shopping. I don't need to right now.
You are Discogs.
Kind of, sort of. I never really talk about it, and that's what it is too. I know a lot of people didn't know.
Right.
They didn't know. So it's like, it's the shock value, like, oh, he got records? Oh, he got stuff? Yeah. I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So speaking of digging, what's the most expensive piece that you bought?
Oh man. It's still, I guess the Mardi Gras would still be one of the heavy conversations, because that's when everybody was like 45 crazy, and I think the most I spent 150 for a 45.
What?
For that at the time. Yeah, I bought 2 copies of CTI.
The white label?
Yeah, I bought 2 copies, $300. Yeah, that was one of them. Oh, you know what? There's another one. It was a house record actually. Serious Intentions. That dun 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 dun. I bought that for $200.
Wow.
Yeah, but
you just gonna stunt on my $40.
You know what I'm saying? But it was just. But again, those were the signature records that you needed to have,
right?
Know? So yeah, it was a stunt, but it was like, yo, but he got it.
He got it.
Wow, he got it. You know what I mean? So I got a very strong collection. It's strong. It's very strong.
Now, speaking of records that were the most expensive, what's a record that you're currently on the hunt for?
Oh man. Actually, I'm really not on the hunt yet, but you know what it is? Like I said, looking through the records that I have, it's just one section that I haven't touched yet, and it's on purpose because they're long.
Okay.
But I love Strictly Rhythms. Like, they just always had like such dope material, especially in the early 90s. So I just gotta record them all.
Oh yeah.
All 250 records. It's like,
that's a lot of recording.
That's like 15 minutes per record, man.
You're gonna need a couple of hard drives for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, a lot of younger DJs, they're not familiar with a Grandmaster Flash. Unfortunately, Grandmaster Flower is a cool Herc. How important do you think it is to know your history on these legendary DJs?
It's the foundation. First of all, it's foundation. Like I said, I'm still a student.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just as much as you being older, you still have to understand how it got here.
Right.
And I think that's where, the misconception of, youth versus older guys, or
right.
Like OG. I hate that word, OG. Like, that is like, I hate that word. I am not an OG.
Somebody called me one, and I was like, "What?
Not.
I'm 30.
Slam on the table. Not an OG. I am not old enough. I am not old enough, people. I'm not. Every
time I'm running you now, I'm gonna just say OG,
like, yo,
just to irritate you.
OG. I might not answer you. Like,
who?
Nah, man. Who? He's over there. It's the young and the old. It's like it seems like it's the young versus the old. The young have something to prove to the older guys, and then the older guys feel like they're just there, or they're just better than what. But I understand the catch of it, because it's like, again, the classic guys have done a lot to get to where they are, versus the younger guys have a much easier way, to create their path.
Right.
But that's, Social Stream, and these are all of the platforms that they didn't have. You know what I mean? So it was like everything that you heard was word of mouth. Like, yo, did you see Flash do the spin back and he turned around and did bop, 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 bop? Those are all like legendary stories. True.
Absolutely.
But they're legendary. You know what I mean? So you can't take anything away from none of them. You know what I mean? But then, like I said, the younger generation, you're able to see what it is visually, what it is that they're doing. So the even from a creativity standpoint as well, it's like, okay, well, we get to see it. You know what I mean? So it's a bigger difference. Difference is way different now.
Sure is.
Way different.
Now, if a promoter wanted to book a Mell Starr at their club or at their event, what's on the rider? Is it kettle corn? Is it vanilla Coke?
No, it is. It's M&Ms, and you gotta take out the peanuts. No, actually, my rider is very simple. Water.
Water.
Like, this is water. Like,
is there any kind of special water?
Damn.
Yeah, you gotta get that.
You gotta
Absolutely.
Get this. Yes. Shouts out to the Liquids Club.
Yep.
I am, obviously one of the ambassadors for the company. Yeah, water is key for me. All clubs have alcohol.
Right.
So you can just ask for a drink, but they won't give you any water. They rather give you a drink first because, but yeah, water for me, towels, hand towels, and, simple. I'm simple because I'm only here to do the job. Let me just, y'all can have all the flair and the hookah bottles, and I'm good. Let me just do the job and go. That's where I'm at with it. Very simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Flash was known for the quick mix theory. Jam Master Jay was known for the hip hop group DJ. Red Alert was known for the radio.
Absolutely.
Kid Capri was known for the tapes.
The KID.
What do you think a Mell Starr would be remembered as?
Honestly,
or known as?
I honestly don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because I feel that I am still a work in progress.
Yeah.
So I haven't signatured nothing yet, I don't think. Just
not even the exclusives.
I mean,
come on, man.
Like
he's being modest.
But that's what I'm saying. But that was as far as having those records like that, that was the part of being that type of a DJ.
Right.
So when you went to the club, it was like, no, I got these records that you don't have. Like
right.
that was it.
Right.
And the digital world kind of cursed it a little bit.
Right.
Because now it's like everybody's computer or their laptops are kind of the same, kind of, sort of. And there's no separation.
Yep.
So like when I look at you, I want to say, yo, he got, or yo, did you hear him play?
Right.
And that was something that I keyed on a lot. Like I was my biggest thing was, okay, I see these DJs. And, it's not a competition ever.
Right.
But it's just the theory of you always want to go, again, AHA and the Dougie.
Right.
That's impact. So you always want to have something that's going to make them say,
ooh,
oh, did you hear what he
said? Right.
And I key in very seriously on that. Like I'm very serious about that.
Absolutely.
Impact, always.
Yep, absolutely. Now, you were very fortunate enough to attend Jazzy Jeff's playlist retreat. There were a lot of producers, artists,
singers,
DJs.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Tell us one mind-blowing story or a great story that you experienced being there. I know there were
thousands of them. What's The best thing that I will say about the playlist retreat is that's the absolute place where you can let your hair down.
Right.
You don't have to worry about shaving, getting some fresh sneakers, and being fresh for the artists that you might have liked, loved, or wanted to see. Or it's like everybody is the same person. So there is no one's better than no one at this moment.
Right.
Like everybody is the same person. So it's technically looking at a family. Like it's one family unit that wants to help, that wants to build, that wants to create, and just make it happen, man. Like that's like a breath of fresh air every time I come there. Like it's like I get to see, and then you don't even know who's coming.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like that's the better part of it, that They're on their 5th year anniversary, matter of fact, too.
5 years deep already?
5 years already.
That's pretty crazy.
Yep. Shouts out to Jazzy Jeff and the playlist.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dope, man. It's super dope.
Too many stories.
Too many stories. No? Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I try not, when people get there, you try not to tell it, because that's like it's like a secret society. Like,
gotcha.
It's like, but a lot has happened, and I've met so many great DJs. Look, Young Guru is just, yo, what up, Mel? Like, oh,
Young
Guru. Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Eric Roberson, one of my favorites. Like, shouts out to Mumu Fresh. Like, a lot of people didn't even know, and she just jumped out on everybody right now, and she's like somebody I'm really looking at. Like, she's like, and I met her through the playlist. Shouts out to DJ Dummy too, because he, that's how I met, this young lady, and like, crazy. Whoa.
Rapper, singer?
Triple threat. Yep.
Triple threat.
She can do both. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I'm just sitting there like, yo, she's rhyming hard, and I believe she can go up against anybody.
Okay.
Female and guys too, but she can also sing, like sang.
Wow.
Yeah, she's dope.
Her name is Mumu Fresh.
Mumu Fresh.
Mama
Youssef, I believe it's a gov. But yeah, people call her Mumu Fresh.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to have to check her out.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, back around 2009, 2010, you started a website called The Cut Cafe.
Yeah.
This was before people were going live. This was probably like, what, Ustream? You were using Ustream?
Yeah, I was on Ustream when that was going down.
What made you want to start this website?
Shouts out to DJ Dummy.
Okay.
So the original Breakfast Club was DJ Dummy. That was the original online Breakfast Club show. And he would ask me to come and do a show every so often. And I liked it. And then it trickled into like other shows like the Beat Miners Radio, because I went on there quite a few times.
Right.
And it just turned, and Eddie B. Swift also had his show as well. So I liked what everybody was doing, but then I was like, you know what? This would be dope to make it like radio.
Right.
And what I did was I tried to get, DJs from all over.
Yep.
And have a show click on from 10 a.m. to 12 midnight, Monday through Friday, and let everybody take the weekend off.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was crazy. But the good thing was, what it did for me is that, because it was my practice also, because I would wake up and have to be on from 10 to 12. So I figured, you know what, let me use this time to practice. And I would practice, but I would practice in front of people.
Oh yeah.
Visually on online. And from that point, I've gathered so many people and fans from like all over the world, and it was a good look. But see, like I said, like again, playing a record like Aha, that was the reason, because every day I needed to do something different. Every single day. So it really opened my mind and the people that were on there, their minds to, play different things, and you had to love it, because it was dope. It went right. It went in, that was the whole purpose of it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the purpose.
So is the Cut Cafe coming back?
I got everything set up. The cameras are set up. You know what it is? I'm trying to figure out what's the best broadcasting
thing. You don't want to use Facebook. They're going to shut you off.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah, I know. I would get shut off, definitely.
Shouts to Facebook, though.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quite sure there's outlets,
right.
But I'm looking. I'm trying to figure it out, because I want to make sure that, because when I was doing it before, I was able to get Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the same time.
Oh, that's fly.
Yeah,
that's super fly.
I gotta figure that out.
Definitely. So how does a Mell Starr balance DJ life and family life at the same time?
Oh Lord.
We know you got a daughter, right?
I have the best daughter in the world. Yes, Naya. Love you. Naya, I love you. All right. So my daughter lives in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I live here.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter's funny because she calls, I'm going. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, how I'm doing, where I gotta go, whatever she calls, I'm out. That's just always on the dime. So
Right.
So as far as balancing, I don't really have a problem with the balance. Like my daughter's good. Like she's all right. And she's doing well in school. She wants to go to Harvard, so I gotta DJ a lot.
A lot.
A whole lot.
A lot.
A whole lot. So yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah. My family life is special. Yeah, it's special. Yeah, it's special. I'll leave it at that.
Cool.
It's special.
Another thing I remember you from are the YouTube videos at Rockin' Soul. The key video that I remember is you and this guy named, I believe his name was like KG the Great, and you were battling him with the acapellas.
Yeah.
How do you think these videos boosted your career or impacted people?
You know, and it's funny. You were playing a tape earlier.
Yep.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't listen or really see any of the stuff that I've done.
Right.
And to know that there is so much that's online that I don't even know about, you know, and it's like, yo, Mel, did you see the video when you was at blah, 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 blah? I'm like, where is it? They're like, oh yeah, it's online. I'm like, oh wow, okay. You know, that was, and it's funny because those were a lot of events that I was giving also. So I think those were probably the jump offs, we used to call them the jump offs, or whatever the rock or the Bronx beatdown was another situation as well. But yeah, the jump off was basically, I used to try to get eclectic DJs to come through and just rock out, heard of or unheard of, but knowing that they had something that was just different from the average.
Right.
And I would do them every so often. Thanks to Rock and Soul, they used to allow me to, have those events in there, and that was it. That situation, I don't know. He came out of nowhere, and I got called out, and yeah, I got called out, and I was shocked because again, I don't, it just happened that way, and we went toe to toe on these records, and
right.
However it ended is, I guess. You saw it.
Yeah, I seen it.
There you go.
Absolutely. One of my favorites. So you're going to make me go back and tag you and all. I'm going to blow your phone up and be like, man, look at this. You was on YouTube this day.
I'm telling you, it's so much. And I'm thankful. Like, I always say, it's cooler when someone is filming something that you love.
That's right.
It's cooler instead of you doing it.
Yep.
So I would never know.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Right now you're actually on the radio. You're on 103.9.
Yep.
Power 88. Yes. I'm missing one station.
Oh, hot. 97.1, I think. Okay. Urban Heat. That's in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were also on Rock the Bells Radio.
I was on Rock the Bells Radio. Shouts out to LL and Z Trip. Yes.
Absolutely. What's your advice to upcoming DJs to actually get on radio?
Wow, that's a great question. Again, it all extends from the most important thing, and that's work.
Absolutely.
And building your and relationships too.
Yep.
It's those are the two things that go head to head with you getting further. You cannot do this thing by yourself.
Yep.
And, it's funny, with family, because family is the reason how a lot of the things that I do is, family. You need family. You need good friends. You need, good relationships. You need non-hating, competing, competitive people that are, in your cipher. Like if you're the guy and it's a crew of us, but we know you're the guy, we need to make sure that you get, that extra push.
Right.
And if you don't have that, that's when the turmoil comes. If you have turmoil, you will have nothing.
Absolutely.
And you will be guilty by association.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking a lot about dope DJs that you like.
Uh-huh.
There was a guy, DJ Outlaw.
I miss him.
Let's talk about how he influenced you.
So DJ Outlaw, rest in peace. His situation was different from everyone because yes, he was a DJ, but he loved the music more than DJing. Literally.
Absolutely.
He really loved it. And he also was a massive record collector. Massive. Like in his apartment, he had like 85,000 records in his
apartment.
And then he had like several storages. Yeah,
in an apartment?
An apartment. Outlaw was serious. Like
I'm not helping him move.
No, I was gotta get the move. It's like, nah, man, we can't do it. But yeah, he was a massive collector, and we recorded. Like I was going, like it was crazy when I was in New York. I was going to his house just about every day, like 4 days a week, no matter what. Wow. Even if it was a half hour or an hour. And we would take records that I would probably bring and we would say, okay, this is the stack. Like what we were trying to do, I'm gonna tell you, we could talk about that though. What we were trying to do, we were trying to create the number one hard drive, like the number one, no doubles, no triples. It was just song, instrumental, acapella, gone.
Right.
And we were able to get up to, I think, 10 terabytes.
Jeez,
yeah,
terabytes.
10 terabytes. Yeah, it's that's what I'm saying as far as like, I haven't even touched the surface of what I even have, because what we did was we collectively put it together, and it's ugly.
I can tell.
It's
10 terabytes.
It's ugly. It's people don't even, and this is an exclusive because nobody actually knows that. Okay. So I'm putting it up. Like, yes,
10 terabytes.
There is a drive,
meaning singular.
Singular. There's a drive out. It's it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, yeah, it's ugly.
How long does it take to even like back that up?
That's what I'm saying. It was years of it. Like we didn't like, and we had a couple of bad moments because it was like, this don't sound good. What are we not doing?
Right.
And we scrapped it, and then we went back, and it was so. And it's something like, okay, for instance, you ever heard like some of the stuff, and you always say, yo, Mel, how does that sound like that?
Right.
We were on that. Like, it was like, okay, wait, it has to sound big, or it has to sound right. And if it didn't, we would scrap it and do it over as many times as it was to make it right. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You literally locked yourself in a room.
It was
and just
over.
Did this.
Like it was crazy. Like we had, he was using Sony Soundforge, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was using Sony. I was using Pro Tools, and we would have like, big shouts to Crystal for even allowing us to do this, because we would have like stuff all over the floor laid out, and he would have his set over here, and you have sets on top of the records, and we would like, okay, put the foam under the turntable to make sure that no noise went up into the needle. It was crazy. But we were like real serious about making sure that it was right. And
So if it skipped, y'all had to start all
started
over.
right over. There was no go back in and try to fix it. It was like, no, that's what I was saying. Like, and you think about, look at the albums. We were talking about albums, 20 minutes, 35 minutes.
Wait, so they weren't 12 inches. You guys were recording
everything.
the albums.
We was recording the albums, 12 inches, acetates, promos, 45s, everything. We was trying to do everything.
Y'all were going for the kill.
Yeah, we definitely was. Definitely was.
All right, so you're currently the DJ for Houdini, tour DJ for Houdini.
Yes.
I'll Be Sure.
Yeah.
And CL Smooth.
Yes.
How do you balance 3 artists and just your regular gigs?
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Nah, you know what it is? Balance. Right. It's balance. You have to, everyone has show dates, days and times and stuff like that. But then there's also downtime for individual artists at times. So what I would do on their downtime is when I would go and say, okay, Mell Starr gotta have, because I also wanted to maintain my name as well as being with the groups. So yeah, it's balance. You gotta balance that.
All right. What's Mel's ideal party to do? Like if you had any party to do, any genre, any length of time, where would it be and what would it be? What style of music? You know what?
And it's funny because I was having that conversation with myself.
Okay.
And I think I answered it too. There's what's that? The do-over is definitely one.
Yes.
The do-over looks like just all out fun.
Yep.
Like that's something that I definitely am looking to do in the future. Dejoun is one, because that's just like hard body, soulful house. Yeah, those are the two that I've looked at like for constant years. I've seen like, like I said, because those were where my peers were all there. Jeff was at the do-over, Maceo was at the do-over. I seen Pete Rock, Just Blaze, a couple of other guys. And then Dejoun was Tony Humphrey, Timmy Regisford, Aslande, and and so forth. And so it's like, my thing is I'm not fighting both sides, but I love both. So what I try to do is take both and make them one. So it's a
lot of people don't realize earlier on you were an intern. You were an intern for some key people in the business. Just to go back.
Wow.
Tell the people who you interned for.
Yeah, rest in peace to Smuel. Smuel, Uncle Bub, was the person that actually got me an intern job for Masters at Work. So at this time, this was Kenny Dope, Louis Vega, who's Ty Terry was there. CNC Music Factory was going on. Barbara Tucker was there. So it was
they were on fire.
Yeah. And at that time, that's like when Deep Inside and all that whole time. Matter of fact, Kenny, he made Get Up, Clap Your Hands and Funky Sensation remixes. So and the Booming in Your Jeep and all those that's what I'm saying. Like it was, I had the best of both sides because Kenny is technically a hip hop head. Like he might not say it, but he's a hip hop head. Kenny's a hip hop head. And then, obviously Louis was just, melodically classic disco, funky, soul and house all in one. And, Ty was just the banging loops, like the banging, just bang, bang loops. And, you know, I got to see all of that. You know what I mean? And I have all those records. See, that's another one, collection of all the gold records, the red records, the blue records. Yeah, they were actually the first records that I seen, colored records.
Wow.
At that time. Yeah, once I started collecting, they were the ones. They had like real exotic records at the time. But yeah, that was my first intern. And I'll never forget, they had gold doors when you went to the door.
Gold doors.
It was two big gold doors. And yeah, it was dope, man. Like that, like I said, I had a special life. Like, you know, like a lot of people haven't experienced probably a quarter of the things that I lived and did and seen, you know, at the same time. But I did it while I was so young. So it was like, who's this little kid? Get out of here, little kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, those, oh man, like, yeah, I still speak to those guys to this day. Shouts out to Kenny and Louie and Todd. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of a special life, if Mell Starr wasn't DJing, we had to take the turntables away. There were no turntables. There were no music. What would Mell Starr be doing?
I would be in corporate world for sure. So before, I mean, obviously, before or as, you know, the DJing was coming up, I was, what was I doing? I was a technician. I used to do edits. I used to edit video and video and television shows.
Right.
So like at the time I was on, they called it integration at the time. So I was like the person that put all the commercials on shows. And logos and all that stuff, and then captioning and all that stuff. So I did that for about 15 years. That's what I'm saying. Like that job, I got that when I was 16.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. And I did it until 2011.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. So the money was fine.
Right.
So I was good. You know? Driving cars and motorcycles and living downtown, and it was good.
Wow.
It was good. It was real good. And I knew that the DJing wouldn't be as lucrative at the time. But I just wanted to do it so bad. So I did it.
Definitely did it.
I did it.
Now, are there any upcoming projects that we should look for?
Yes, I have. I'm debating on the real life remixes.
Got to do that.
Yeah,
got to do that.
I got a new pack. Actually, 2 packs. I just gotta package it up.
Absolutely.
And put it out. I actually have an album that I'm working on now. An Afrobeats album.
Wow.
Yeah. With who was it? Saint Ezekiel and another guy. His name is Kaidi Kat out of London. So yeah, exclusive. I'm trying to have that hopefully done by the end of this year and be ready to drop in the top of the year.
Nice. How do you plan to release it?
Oh no, it's gonna be on every format.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Amazon, iTunes, and Beatport, TrackSource, the whole, everything. All that's ready. So I'm just, just putting it together, getting it all done now.
Nice.
Yeah. Then I got a Latin album.
Latin album?
I know. I got a Latin album.
You gonna put on a silk shirt and be saucing it
up? No habla español, my people. I'm so sorry. But so it's a twist, and I know. But again, it comes from the background. You know what I mean? So my background is just music. That was it for me at the time. So those are the 2 routes that I chose. So yes, I'm gonna play some congas,
nice,
some timbales and the shakers and the cowbells and
that's fly.
It's gonna be serious.
That's fly.
Really dope.
So how can people reach out to you on social media?
You can call me. Everything is DJ Mell Starr, 2 L's, 2 R's. Everything that's at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach me on my app. I have a DJ app as well. So you can go on Google, you can Amazon, Alexa, and whatever format, and just type in DJ Mell Starr, and it shall come up.
Nice.
And I have a slew of music on there. Also, the Mixcloud stuff is there. SoundCloud, Bandcamp. If you want to, make purchases on certain records. So exclusive stuff. So the how-tos and whatnots. Need to contact me, need to call me. You can call me at 347 Mell Starr.
347
Mell Starr.
Mell Starr. The new Mike Jones.
Mike Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for listening to Without No DJ podcast.
Yes.
We had Mr. No Headphones in Harlem.
Yes.
The most dangerous.
Yes.
Mr. Mell Starr.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Peace.